Kia ora team, you join me at the Pirates camp for the PS5 DayZ Loot Routes. Thank you for joining me. So it seems to be that one of the greatest things that people want to see is loot routes. But I mean, what is a loot route, right? Well, a loot route is a way of getting through the map from someone who has absolutely nothing spawning way down on the coast, all the way up to someone who is reasonably well kitted and ready to go out and tackle whatever it is that the game has to throw at them. And there's a number of different ways to tackle this, and a number of ways to get through the game. I will start this series of loot routes by explaining a couple of things. The first thing is, these are loot routes that I have undertaken on my modded server, which is a PS5 modded server, and it's not exactly like the official vanilla game. It's not hugely different to the vanilla game, to be fair, so you're not looking at a vast amount of mods that are going to change an awful lot of things. In some areas there may be less Zs, in some areas there may be more Zs, and so on and so forth. But other than that, it's generally the same. So it is still something that is perfectly viable on official games, but the more modded the server, the different the kinds of loot that you will get. Obviously, this is my interpretation, and people will vary and say, oh, I wouldn't do that, I do that. Oh, I wouldn't do this, I do that. That's fine. That is the way it goes. Oh, look, goes out like a light. That is how everybody looks at it. Of course, it's your opinion, and of course, this is my opinion, and you can do it however you like. I have split the loot routes into two general categories, an easy category and an advanced category. And the reason that I have done that is the easy category is intended for people who are maybe not 100% sure of themselves, maybe not 100% sure of Z-related combat, maybe not 100% sure of their way, finding their way around complex or very dangerous towns like Zelenogorsk, for example. The advanced routes really don't bother with that and say, well, if you're going to do an advanced route, then you better be prepared to do whatever is necessary to get whatever is necessary. The final thing about the loot routes is, obviously you're aware of the tiered loot system, and the tier 4 area of the map is DayZ. And while every loot route could, in theory, stop at DayZ, I'm going to stop before we get to DayZ. Because once you've seen DayZ once, you've seen it a million times. So I'm not really going to do that, and it isn't really going to feature. You can, by all means, go and do it. And I have done other videos on other series where I have gone around DayZ and shown you all of the kind of things that you can get from DayZ, including on the White Cloud modded server. And if you want to see what you can get there, go and see what you can get there. But I'm not going to do it. I'm going to cover everything going from the south in the coastal regions and east over as far as Svetlo to basically Novaya Petrega. That would be the launching point for DayZ if you wanted to go there, and that's where I'm going to take you to, and that's where I'm going to finish off. Obviously, you have to be aware with any of these things that the RNG comes into effect so many times, and it may well be that when I do a loot route, I will get very little, or I could get an awful lot, and if you follow it, you may not get the same things. We will deal with those things as we run across them, and that is simply it. So what's going to set this apart from your average loot route? Well, I hope to take this more of an exploration where I will guide you through each of the loot routes as I have proposed them, starting off from the spawn group locations and taking you through the various locations that we need to go through to get what we need to get. But rather than just give you a list of names or say here's some places you need to go, I want to actually run through that with you and give you some hints and some tips and some tricks and explain some of the ways that you need to go about this to ensure that you survive. Along the way, I want to ensure that I give you some additional tactics, such as stealth killing infected, if you don't know how to do that, and how you can maximize the most of these opportunities and get some prime loot in the process. Along the way, I'm going to stop to take screenshots and various other bits and pieces of places of interest, and especially of the names of towns, because it isn't always abundantly clear if you don't have a map and you're not looking at iSurvive where these places are, although you may have heard about them. While we're playing through these locations, we'll stop and have a look at some of the loot you can find and where you might find it, whether it's an outhouse or whether it's in a shed, whether it's next to a fruit tree, whether it is in a greenhouse, whether it's a car, whether it's a log cabin, whether it's a brick house, whether it's somewhere out in the open next to the coast like a boat, and some additional stealth and survivability tactics such as hiding in a poly house because the infected seem incapable of seeing through glass walls. We'll also cover some essential crafting and survivability skills, like where you can get firewood, where you can get wooden logs or bark for fireplaces or lighting fires, the differences between the different kinds of trees and what they produce for you, and some essential crafting mechanics, like how to get short sticks from long sticks, how many short sticks you get from long sticks, what to do with short sticks in terms of crafting bolts, for example, an essential piece of ammunition for a crossbow. And of course, the final stages of turning those sharpened improvised bolts into something with feathers that's a deadly one-shot kill stealth weapon and possibly the best stealth weapon in the game. And finally, what I want to do is translate this into some kind of information that you can use by using the Chernarus Turnus map overlay, where we'll point out things like the starting location, such as Balota, transition points, such as the town of Bor, and indications as to the pathways, such as the blue pathway over the hills and through the forest that takes us through to the next destination. And hopefully by using this map, when you finally run across the tourist map, you can put some recognizable names to some recognizable places and some recognizable direction into where you should be going next. Now, you may or may not know, but since the last changes that they brought in for spawn groups, you tend to spawn in a collection of areas, and I'm going to take the starting locations for each of the routes from those particular locations, more or less. And that is going to be the down in Balota area, in and around Cherno, in and around Electro, in and around Krutoy Cap, Solnichny Nizhny area, Berezino, and of course Svetlo. So that's everything there is to know about the loot routes, and I hope you you decide to come and join me. And like I said, this is, I think, more of a loot route guides with tips and tricks and hints and survivability along the way, which hopefully will set apart from just giving you a list of towns that you need to go to and giving you a bit of a feel for the kind of complexities of dealing with those things. So yeah, I hope that's it. I hope you like it. I will be producing these sort of more or less in order, obviously, because I'm going through them. It will take a little bit of time, but they will be coming along. So make sure you definitely subscribe. Make sure that you definitely click that bell notification so that you know when the next one is coming along. And I will see you all again in the real soon. Ta-ta for now.